Hey guys, how are you doing? So I know with this coronavirus epidemic, stuff is just getting out of hand. Because of that, we've had all sorts of closures on campus and everything. But as our lab monitor, I still think it's super important we learn a lot of these programs. They're going to be vital for your future. So I wanted to provide a way that you could still get some information. So this is my first time trying this, especially on Zoom. So just welcome to Brad's virtual lab here for architects and interior designers. I wanted to play around with AutoCAD today and maybe show you guys just some basic layout tips, some stuff that I think is really overlooked, especially when you're just trying to dive into a new program. So if you're just dove into it blind, it's really easy to just get distracted by all these buttons and stuff. Even if you're an experienced person with CAD, you still might not know a lot of these, and they're really, really going to help you streamline your performance on these programs later, especially when working on big projects. One of the first things I wanted to address is actually just page layout and drawing layout because you start off in this basic layout here, but I found when I started using these applications for professional work, I was running into a lot of just very simple but annoying things that slow down your project speed and your project work. A couple of those things I should say is this: just having all these bulky tools in front of you, 90% of them aren't necessary when you're working on just a really specific task. So I'm going to show you how to create these pages where basically it's going to shift all these menus for you in the click of a button. So depending on what you're working on or what task you're working on, whether it's drawing or dimensioning or doing renders, you're going to be able to just shift through these pages so quickly. It's going to be, once you set it up once, you're done, and it's just going to make your work that much easier. Some of the problems I was having before this was just really small things that were really slowing me down, like this view cube, for example. It's just like if you get off the view on accident and you're like wonky like to the left, you have to do like 4 clicks to get back to where you want. It's just like a pain. Like what's like this thing, like there's not really a need for it. This is for working in 3D spaces. Like it's gonna let you walk around, look up and down, zoom and orbit, which doesn't really pertain to just like drafting. So why is that in this page? We don't really need it. Um, and then some of the other things too is just like I feel these pages lack certain information. Like if you draw a line and you're trying to investigate its group or whatever, or more specific things about it, it's just kind of a pain to find that information. So what AutoCAD has is this thing called Workspaces. And basically what it is you can set up these pages where you can quick jump to them, and it's set up really nice. So I'll show you an example of one I've made. This is my drafting one. And as you can see, I have all the drawing tools I need. So this is all the drawing tools and lines, all the dimension lines, measuring tools, grouping tools, quick jump views. Down here I have layer selections, and then over here I have basically properties of objects. So the way I'm going to show you how to do this, you can customize this however you want. But the reason I chose some of these is I feel like they're the most efficient tools for working on big drafting projects. And I think that that's a lot of us are using this for. Let me just show you a couple of things that I think are pretty cool is if you have, for example, like 3 lines here, let's change this just to whatever. So the first thing that is great about it is if I click this line, it's going to show me all the properties. And as you can see, I changed it here before. You can change all the stuff just by selecting this, which is really handy, especially to have it here without having to pull up a properties menu. The other thing is you can change this layer over here, which is super helpful when you have a bunch of layers for dimensions and windows or whatnot. The other thing is grouping. So grouping is super critical, and you'll find that you group a lot when you're working on big projects. One problem I had is, especially in elevations, in tile work, I did a lot of tile work on elevations recently. And a lot of the times, like I'm using specific tiles and I need to figure out how many sheets we need to buy. So everything is like a super spec construction document. And what is happening is, you know, you create these big tile grids to place on the elevations, but you have to trim those grids. So normally what I do is I make a bunch of tiles, copy them, and group them. but then I have to trim certain ends on different ones, right? And to do that, you can't trim stuff when they're in a group. So you have to ungroup it to trim it. But if you have this grouping tab up here, the awesome part about it is you can quickly turn on and off your group. So it's grouped right now. I can click that button. Now it's not grouped. I can trim these lines. And with a simple click of a button again, it's back to its original group. So you don't have to highlight each line and then select and group and ungroup. It's just a really helpful tool to have. I'm sure you're familiar with the measuring tool. If you're not, it's basically like a dimension line, but it gives you a quick reference, which is nice to have. And then these are obviously quick jump views. So if you like that, it's super handy. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how to create this. So going back to your page, it'll be in drafting and annotation. The first thing we're gonna do, and don't freak out about this, is we're gonna basically delete all the stuff on here, which is great, but I just don't want you to freak out because this is actually a saved default template on AutoCAD, and you can always go back to this template. So as we're unchecking stuff, don't get nervous. You can always just, in the click of a button, get back to the screen. So don't freak out about that. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this 3D object. It totally doesn't pertain to anything drafting wise, so just delete it. The second thing is you probably don't have coordinates down here. So this is super helpful. Later, I'm gonna give you videos on how you can use this farther, but basically what it will do is change this coordinate point here and it'll make it super easy. So like if you have a drawing here and you have the same drawing over here, but like dimensioned, or you have your elevations over here, you can actually relocate this point to different areas and it'll allow you to jump to different parts of large drawings. So having the coordinates here is just showing you where you're at versus where your center line's at. It's kind of helpful to have. If you like it, just press Control I, it'll pop the box up and you can pull it right into here and just drop it. So the next thing we're gonna do is get rid of this ribbon. It's super clunky. It has every tool in there, which you don't need. So to get rid of that, just type in ribbon, close. It should go away. Okay, next up at the top, we're gonna get our menu bar back. So to get that back, there's next to drafting and annotation, there's a triangle with a little arrow. Go ahead and click that. It's a drop-down box. The very bottom, it says show menu bar. Give that a click. From here, we're gonna start adding toolbars. So you can go to the tool selection on your menu and under toolbars, you'll see AutoCAD. And this is every AutoCAD toolbar that is available. So this is kind of where you're gonna start having fun. You can select and deselect as many as you want, really customize your windows to what you're working on. I'm gonna show you how to make the drafting one and basically the page I just showed you and show you which toolbars you can select to get that. So the first thing we're gonna do is select the draw tab. This is gonna give you all your basic lines. Mine automatically pops here since earlier I drugged these and they're popped in my other thing. It's just gonna basically remember where I put them. So if yours is showing somewhere else, no problem. Just drag it from the left side, these little dots. You can hover under where the tabs are and you should be able to just drop it and it will dock automatically for you. So to add more toolbars, you can go back through the tools tab or you can just right click on the toolbar you already have. And if you right click on it, it's already gonna just automatically take you to the menu of every toolbar available. So the next thing I like to add is dimension lines. So we'll just go to dimensions. Mine, like I said, is already popped in here. It's okay if yours is somewhere else, just click and drag it up here. It'll should be able to dock right away. From here, I like adding the measuring tool. So I will right click it, go down to measuring, and mine popped up on this side, which is kind of funky because it's a smaller one. So I'm just gonna move it over there and kind of move all these back. And I'm not gonna actually move this yet because I have a feeling it's gonna do this for the other one, the next thing we're gonna do as well. So just right click again. The next one you're gonna add is group. It's put mine over here again, just because I don't know why it does that. Yours is probably floating somewhere. Just go ahead, reorganize them back. So first it's gonna be the line tab, then dimension tab, then the measuring tab, and then finally the group tab. You don't have to organize it like this. I prefer it because I just know that all my line tools and drawing tools are gonna be right here as soon as I go up. It's just helpful. A lot of the times I'm even typing the commands in, so it doesn't really matter, but if you just want a quick reference, it's nice to have them here. Okay, next we're gonna add the ones that belong on the bottom. So down at the bottom, I personally decide I like to have the layers tab, so I will select the layers. Mine's already down here, yours is probably floating, so if it is, just drag it down here. It should just pop right here. You'll see a little highlight. Just let go of it and it should pop under your command prompt. The next one I'm gonna add is I'll left click. I'm gonna scroll down and it should be called properties. Here it is. Mine automatically pops there. If yours is somewhere else, just drag it down. And the last thing we're gonna add is the quick view reference sheet. So a lot of people always do camera adjustment. That's not right. What that's really for is for rendering cameras. So if you're doing a 3D space, it's all your camera rendering tools. You actually wanna scroll down and it's under view, and that's how you're gonna get the quick reference guide. Mine's over here already. You can move it wherever you want, but you can just click it and drag it over here. If you, and this is mainly if you don't like the cube, you don't have to have this. There is other options too. If you actually click over here to the left, it says like a dash line then top. If you click top, these are actually already all the standard views. So you can quick jump through there. I just find it easier to have, like I'm already used to clicking over here instead of like finding this little thing. So I just like to put this here because it's right next to everything. Couple of other options I'll show you over here that are kind of cool is wireframe. You can change all your lines here. This is sometimes helpful if like one of your page setups is in like a shaded thing. You can just click shaded, it'll like remember that. And then for the compass, you can turn this on and off or edit it. I left it on for the video because the compass is sometimes you use in a technical drawing. But if you're not really that technical, you don't have to have the cube, you can turn it off. To do that, you can either right click it and do view cube settings. You could basically turn it off from here. This is also where you can edit it. So like if you turn automatic off, you can change the size of the cube if you want it smaller than this. You can also change the opacity. There's a couple of other things. This is the position of it. Just hit OK when you're done. If you screw it up, you can always hit restore default, then hit OK. Another way you can toggle this is if you actually go to the little line on the top left, you see view cube, you can actually turn that off. You can also turn it back on from the same place. This is also where you're gonna find the steering wheel, the thing we turned off earlier. Remember that thing? You can get it from here. The other cool part I wanted to show you about this is if you click that line, you can actually configure your viewport. So hit viewport configuration list. From here, you can change how this is laid out. So you can get like two verticals. Sometimes this is helpful if you want to show like the floor plan and the lighting plan or two different plans or whatever. The other thing you can do is like three horizontal. This is great to show sections. I have a viewport here, here, and here. So I could show three different sections of one building in one viewport, which is sometimes really helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back to a single viewport. I'll go to configuration list, single. Awesome. We're pretty much done. Before we save it, let's go ahead and change the units to architectural. Just leave that on. And then from here, we're gonna save this template basically as a standard so we can always reference it. To do that, go to the bottom where the gear is, click that. You'll see drafting annotation is checked. Don't worry about that right now. We're gonna hit save as current as or save current as. You already saw I had a couple of these. This is my drafting template, so I recommend just naming it drafting. You can name it whatever. I'm gonna name it drafting 3 since I've done this video a couple times. Oops. Just go ahead, save. And now that, if you notice up here, it says drafting 3 now instead of what it said before. So if you want to go back to your old thing, you can either click the top thing here and click drafting annotative, which is what the basic one was. Another way you can access it is down at the bottom right where we saved it. You can click that gear. And like I said, mine is drafting. Yours is probably drafting. This is the one we just made, but I'm going to go to drafting. And it should pop right back in. All of our menus should be there. If you notice, everything's in its place. And we can start drawing in this view. So I hope this was helpful. It's super convenient, especially when you're working later on one drawing in all these different areas. You can have as many of these as you want. You can edit and customize them, delete them. If you accidentally create one you don't need, you can always go to where this gear is again, bottom right, hit customize, and this prompt will come up, and this is where you can delete them. So I'm actually going to delete drafting 3 and drafting 1. Just click them, highlight them, and just press delete. It'll say, do you really want to delete these elements? Say yes. They're gone forever. And then you just hit OK. So now if you notice, when I go back to these menus, drafting 1 and 3 are no longer here, but my regular drafting is. So yeah, I hope you learned something good. I hope you can use this for all your future projects and set up some really cool stuff, guys. So stay tuned for more videos to come. We'll dive into some other concepts, maybe some other programs as well. I am working on advanced CAD things right now. I'm really trying to learn the super complex things of CAD. So there may be more CAD videos coming before other stuff. If you have questions, just request it from me. I'll see if I can make a tutorial for you. Or you can just drop into my lab and I'll see if I can FaceTime you or Zoom you and get that sorted out. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great one.